Welcome once again to The Curious Case. I'm Davis, and I'm so glad you're here for another quiet mystery. Tell me, where are you listening from tonight? And what's the weather like where you are? Share it in the comments. And remember to subscribe so you never miss our next evening in Street Mary Mead. The afternoon was mild, the kind of English sunshine that promised more than it gave. On the vicarage lawn, flags fluttered in red, white, and blue. Tables stood ready. Teapots gleamed. The air smelled of sponge cake and grass. Miss Marple sat beneath the cedar tree, knitting quietly. Her eyes, pale and sharp, wandered over the scene, not idly, but with quiet interest. She had seen many fates, many crowds, and she knew beneath laughter there was always one moment that didn't belong. Sir Henry Clithering crossed the lawn, his hand resting on the shoulder of a small boy. The child's paper windmill spun furiously in the soft breeze. Beside them walked Nurse Briggs brisk, uniform crisp, her gaze fixed on her charge like a hawk. "Good afternoon, Miss Marple," Sir Henry greeted, cheerful but distracted. "Indeed, a fine day for a fete," she replied, setting her knitting aside. Her eyes softened at the boy. "And this must be young Tim." The boy smiled shyly. His stamped hand flashed violet in the light. A small bird, the mark of admission. He held the windmill tighter. "It spins faster here," he whispered. Nurse Briggs nodded politely. "If you'll excuse us, Sir Henry, I'll see him to the refreshment tent. The lemon barley water is wholesome." Sir Henry agreed absently. He looked relieved, though Miss Marple noticed it. That faint shadow behind his smile. A man weighed by thought. She resumed her knitting as they moved off. Around her, the laughter of villagers carried easily through the warm air. Lady Bantry, radiant in a hat far too large for reason, fussed over her stall. Dr. Haydock strolled with his eternal black bag just in case. Everything was comfortably familiar. Then came the sound. The ice cream man, a tall fellow with a waxed moustache pushing his tricycle through the lich gate. His bell rang twice, paused, then once again. An odd rhythm, intentional, precise. He smiled as he passed the bench. "Lovely day for it, madam." Miss Marple inclined her head. "Indeed." Her needles paused in mid-air. The crowd went on games, chatter, laughter, but the sound of that bell lingered longer than it should have. She looked toward the gate once more. 2 rings. Pause. 1 ring, too deliberate, too practiced. Miss Marple's lips pressed together slightly. Patterns always meant something. The afternoon was quiet. Simple. Still. Tables lined the vicarage lawn. Cakes. Teapots. Flags. Miss Marple sat under the cedar tree, knitting, watching, thinking. Her eyes missed nothing. Children laughed, near the stalls. Mrs. Kendall arranged jars with nervous precision. Lady Bantry waved her gloved hand at someone unseen. Everything looked peaceful. Too peaceful. A shadow crossed the path. Sir Henry Clithering, former Scotland Yard. Tidy, polite, but distracted. Beside him Nurse Briggs, efficient, tight smile. A child walked between them. Tim, 5 years old. Paper windmill spinning in the breeze. Miss Marple lowered her knitting. Sir Henry. He smiled, but not fully. Miss Marple couldn't miss the village fete. "And this must be Tim," she said. The boy nodded, shyly. His small hand bore a violet stamp, a bird, the sign of entry. "Lovely toy," she said softly. "It spins faster when I run," he whispered. Nurse Briggs glanced at her watch. "Best visit the refreshment tent before the rush, sir." "Go ahead," Sir Henry agreed. He looked tired, like a man pretending not to be. They left toward the tents. Marple watched them. Her knitting resumed, slow and steady. The crowd thickened. Voices. Mixed. Games began. Then a sound. A bell. Twice. Pause. Once more. Not random. Not careless. She turned. An ice cream tricycle rolled through the lich gate. A man pushed it. Neat cap, waxed moustache, confident smile. He stopped by the cedar's shadow. "Afternoon, madam," he said. "Fine day for a crowd." Marple's tone stayed mild. "Indeed." He rang his bell again. 2 rings. Pause. 1. Same rhythm. She glanced down, knitting still in her lap. Unfinished row. Hands motionless. The man moved on. Bell echo fading through laughter. Mrs. Kendall laughed too loudly. Sir Henry's voice carried faintly from the tent. Nurse Briggs' white cap showed above the crowd. Everything normal. Almost. Marple's eyes narrowed slightly. Bell. Pattern. Precision. She counted in her mind. 2 rings. Pause. 1 ring. Too deliberate to be chance. She exhaled slowly. Soft. Certain. Patterns always meant something. The Punch and Judy show began at 3. Children gathered near the booth. Laughter came quick, shrill, honest, unaware. Nurse Briggs stood close behind Tim. He gripped both windmills, 1 red, 1 blue. The crowd pressed forward, voices blurred into noise. Punch squeaked. The crocodile appeared. Children screamed with delight. Adults smiled. Miss Marple sat nearby, knitting still, eyes steady. She noticed movement. The ice cream man again. He pushed his tricycle closer to the crowd. Bell rang twice. Pause. Then once more. Same pattern. He stopped near the lich gate. Calm. Focused. Watching. Nurse Briggs turned. She frowned. The afternoon was cooler. Tim's cardigan lay forgotten on a tea table. She hesitated, then moved off. Just a minute, she thought. Marple's eyes followed her. The nurse disappeared behind the refreshment tent. The show reached its loudest moment. Punch beat the crocodile. Children screamed and clapped. Noise covered everything. The ice cream man wheeled forward. Slow, silent, bell. Cord brushed past someone's sleeve. No one noticed. A minute passed, then another. Nurse Briggs returned, cardigan in hand. She looked down. Tim wasn't there. Her voice broke the air. "Tim?" Nothing. She stepped forward. "Tim, where are you?" Crowd turned. Laughter stopped. Heads shifted. Confusion spread fast. Sir Henry looked up sharply. He pushed through the people. "Tim!" The showman froze mid-motion. Punch hung lifeless on its strings. "Has anyone seen the boy?" Nurse Briggs shouted. Faces turned blank. No answer. Inspector Slack, off duty, moved from the edge of the lawn. "What's happened?" "The child's gone," Briggs cried. Slack's tone turned sharp. "Everyone stay where you are. No one leaves." Sir Henry's face went pale. He searched the ground. The paper windmill lay crushed near the booth. Only one. The blue one. Marple rose from her bench. Calm. Still. She scanned the crowd once more. The tricycle was gone from sight. The path near the gate looked disturbed. Nurse Briggs clutched the empty cardigan. Her voice trembled. "He was just here. Just—" Sir Henry didn't move. Didn't speak. The windmill turned once in the dust. The boy was gone. The lawn was silent now. Only whispers. Only questions. Inspector Slack moved fast. "Search every stall. Check behind the tents." Hands pointed. Voices clashed. Miss Marple didn't move. She watched. Eyes narrow. Calm. Calculating. Sir Henry stood near the punch booth. His hand shook slightly. "Someone has him," he said quietly. Nurse Briggs trembled beside him. I turned away for 1 minute. 1. Slack barked again. No one leaves the grounds. Stamp checks at the gate. Now. Tom Petter, the gate steward, nodded, panicked. "I've been here all afternoon, Inspector. No child's gone through. Not one." Marple rose slowly. Her eyes fell on something beneath the rhododendrons. A small shape. Wool. Blue. And soft. She bent down, lifted it carefully. A child's scarf. Sir Henry turned. "That's Tim's." His voice broke on the name. Marple held it close, looked at the weave, then to her nose. A faint scent. Sweet, thick, vanilla. Slack frowned. "What are you doing, Miss Marple?" "Smelling evidence," she said simply. He blinked. Evidence? It's a child's scarf. Everything tells a story, Inspector, she replied. Even wool. She rubbed the fabric between her fingers. Feel this. Slightly greasy. Not from dirt. From contact. Slack hesitated. Touched it. Feels odd. Yes. Marple nodded. Lemon barley water leaves no grease. And it doesn't smell like this. Vanilla? Dr. Haydock asked. He'd arrived breathless. Exactly. Could be from a cake, Slack said. Marple shook her head. No crumbs. No sugar dust. The scent is too direct. Too clean. She held the scarf toward the group. This touched something cold. Something polished. Something coated. Sir Henry stared. The ice cream tricycle? Marple looked at him, quiet approval in her eyes. Precisely. Slack looked toward the gate. The tricycle stood under a tree. Its bell gleamed faintly in the Sunday. He's still there, Slack muttered. Felix Hart leaned casually against his cart, smiling faintly, chatting with Mrs. Kendall. Polite. Calm. Too calm. Marple spoke softly. Watch him, Inspector. But not yet. Let him believe we haven't noticed. Slack frowned. You think he... I think, Marple interrupted. Someone clever prepared this. Ice cream explains the smell. Metal explains the grease. Wool explains how the scent stayed. She turned to Nurse Briggs. You said the boy didn't have ice cream? No, Miss Marple. Only lemon barley water. Marple nodded. So he didn't buy it. Someone gave it to him, or brushed it against him. Doctor. Haydock folded his arms. Meaning? Marple met his gaze. Meaning the scarf was near the tricycle. Maybe near the man who rang that bell. The wind shifted. From the gate came the faint jingle again. 2 rings. Pause. 1 ring. Slack muttered. That sound again. Marple's tone was quiet. Some patterns are not meant for children to hear. She folded the scarf neatly, looked once more toward the gate. She smelled ice cream, but not from the tent. Inspector Slack took control. Voice sharp, firm, commanding. Everyone stay where you are, no exceptions. The crowd froze. Murmurs spread, thin as smoke. Miss Marple stood quietly beside him, knitting bag in one hand, scarf folded in the other. Slack faced the first stall-holder. Did you see anyone near the child? Mrs. Kendall shook her head. Only Nurse Briggs. The boy was laughing. Then gone. Anyone near the punch booth? Professor Osborne, the showman, raised a trembling hand. I was inside, Inspector. Couldn't see a thing. Did you hear anything? Only the bell. That blasted bell. Slack turned. Bell? Yes, the man said quickly. The ice cream fellow. Rang it twice, then once again. Just before the scream. Slack's eyes narrowed. He looked toward the gate. The tricycle stood in the shade. Felix Hart leaned on it, arms crossed, pretending calm. Bring him here, Slack ordered. Tom Petter, the gate steward, hurried off. Sir Henry spoke low. He wouldn't dare take a child. Not here. Not in daylight. Marple's tone stayed flat. People dare more when they've planned longer, Sir Henry. Hart arrived, escorted by Petter. He smiled. Polite. Measured. Afternoon, Inspector. Can I help you? Slack folded his arms. You were seen near the punch show, moving your tricycle. Why? Hart shrugged. Better sales, Inspector. Shade was poor where I stood. Children gather near laughter. Did you serve the boy? Hart's eyes flickered. Many children today. Couldn't say. Where were you when he vanished? Right here, near my cart. Ringing the bell. Trying to earn a living. He smiled again. Too controlled. Marple watched his hands. Steady, no tremor. But the nails carried faint grey polish. Metal wax. Slack stepped closer. Your cart. When did you last move it? Hart hesitated. Around 3. Maybe later. How many times did you ring that bell? Couldn't tell you. You will, Slack said. Hart's jaw tightened. Inspector, I've done nothing wrong. Marple's voice cut through. Perhaps. But wrong often hides behind routine. Slack motioned toward the gate. Petter, you said you stamped everyone's hand. Yes, sir. Did you see the boy leave? No, Inspector. Not a chance. He never came through. Slack frowned. Then he's still inside these grounds. The tension thickened. Every face showed strain. Nurse Briggs clutched the empty cardigan tighter. Marple stepped closer to the gravel path near the lich gate. She knelt slowly, pressed her fingers into the dust. 2 lines, parallel, thin, shallow. Slack moved beside her. What is it? She pointed. 1 track from a tricycle, 2 smaller beside it. Slack leaned in. Looks like something was pulled. Exactly, she said, her voice calm, certain. 2 tracks where there should be one. Sir Henry stood apart now, hands shaking, eyes fixed on the trampled grass. Inspector Slack approached. Sir Henry, we'll need your full account. Every movement, every detail. Sir Henry nodded slowly. I've already told you he was right beside me. Children wander, Slack said. Not this one, Sir Henry cut in. Tim never strays. Miss Marple's gaze stayed steady on him. Sometimes, Sir Henry, they don't wander. They're led. He met her eyes. Something unreadable flickered there. Slack turned to check the path. Again, a constable jogged toward them. Sir, found this near the bench, under a cushion. He handed over a folded envelope. Slack opened it carefully. Plain paper, no signature. Typed words. He read aloud. Return what was taken from Barlow. No police. You know where to send it. Slack's tone hardened. No mention of money. Just Barlow. What does that mean? Sir Henry's expression changed. Colour drained from his face. He took the note slowly. Read it twice. Said nothing. Who's Barlow? Slack pressed. No answer. Marple's voice came quiet. Sir Henry, you were with the Yard once, were you not? He nodded. Then this Barlow, was he a case? Sir Henry looked away. Yes, many years ago. He was a constable under me. Good man, until he wasn't. What happened? Slack asked. Forgery. Extortion. Evidence theft. He was dismissed. Disappeared before arrest. And you handled the dismissal? I did. His voice turned low. He swore I'd pay for it. Marple's eyes narrowed slightly. And the Barlow file? Does it still exist? Sir Henry hesitated. In my study. Locked. Contains statements, copies, letters. All of it. Slack folded the note. So this isn't ransom. This is personal. Revenge, Marple said softly. Someone close enough to remember. Clever enough to watch. Sir Henry rubbed his temple. Dear God, after all these years. Slack snapped his notebook shut. Sir, we'll have to examine your home. If that file's the key, it could explain everything. Do what you must, Sir Henry said faintly, but find the boy first. Marple studied the paper again. Typed. No smudge, no crease. A professional hand, she murmured. Cut clean from the sheet, not torn. Whoever wrote this used precision tools. Slack glanced at her. You think it's the ice cream man? Perhaps, she said. Or perhaps someone using him. Sir Henry sank onto the bench. The scarf still hung from his pocket. The scent of vanilla lingered. He spoke barely above a whisper. I should have burned that file. Marple looked at him calmly. No, Sir Henry. Files don't burn truth. They preserve it. Slack slipped the note into an evidence bag. Barlow. Revenge. A missing child. That's our line. Marple's tone dropped low. This was not about money. It was about the past. Inspector Slack returned from the gate. His coat sleeve carried dust. His tone sharper than before. Cart searched. Found nothing suspicious. Just cones, wrappers, and a ledger. He handed the small notebook to Miss Marple. She adjusted her spectacles. May I? Slack nodded. Go ahead. Numbers aren't my strong suit. Marple flipped through the thin pages. Handwritten columns. Dates. Flavors marked in tidy strokes. Chocolate. Strawberry. Vanilla, she murmured. Her eyes paused. The numbers didn't add up. Slack leaned over her shoulder. What do you see? An excess. she said simply. Vanilla sales outnumber the rest by 10-1. Children like vanilla, he muttered. Not in cold weather, Marple replied. Especially not in this quantity. She turned the page. Yesterday, 15 sold. Today, 42. Slack frowned. That's impossible. Hart, the ice cream man, stood under guard by the tricycle. He smirked faintly. You find something interesting, madam. Marple closed the ledger. Your memory seems better than your arithmetic, mister. Hart. He raised an eyebrow. Meaning? Meaning the truth isn't in your book. Slack took the ledger back. Explain the numbers. Hart shrugged. Guess the kids like it. That's all. Slack's tone dropped low. Guess again. He motioned to the constable. Check the waste bin behind the cart. The man hurried off. Marple looked at Hart's hands, still stained faintly grey. Wax or polish, not from ice cream. Why vanilla? She asked quietly. Hart smiled. Simple. Easy to mix. Doesn't stain clothes. She held his gaze. Or easy to hide something inside. Slack interrupted. Ma'am? The constable returned, holding a small paper roll. Torn coupons, sir. All marked vanilla. None stamped. Slack opened one. Unpunched. Unused. Fake tokens, he muttered. Marple's eyes brightened. So, he recorded false sales. She looked at Hart again. Each one could mean an exchange, a message, a signal. Hart's smirk faltered. You're imagining things, lady. Marple's tone stayed calm. Perhaps, but 40. 2 imaginations in one day would be quite a talent. Slack unfolded more slips. All identical. No customer names. No initials. Just the flavor, vanilla. He looked back at Marple. What if the numbers matched deliveries? Something moving through the cart? Exactly, she said. The cart could carry more than ice cream. Vanilla covers smell. The cold hides content. Hart said nothing. His eyes flicked toward the tricycle box. Just for a second. Enough. Slack caught it. You looked, Hart. Did I? Yes, Slack said. And I saw why. He crouched, checked the wheels again. Fresh marks under the crate latch. Something had been lifted. Recently. Marple flipped the ledger shut. Her tone was quiet. 42 vanilla tokens. 1 missing child. Slack nodded grimly. Not coincidence. Marple glanced toward the grey clouds. Her voice barely above a whisper. 40. 2 sold. On a cold day. Inspector Slack crouched near the gate. His hand brushed the gravel. Tracks, he said quietly. 2 sets. Side by side. Miss Marple joined him. Her eyes traced the lines. 1 wide, 1 narrow. Both recent. The tricycle's main wheel, she said softly. And this thinner line? Slack nodded. Could be a cart, or something attached behind. He measured the space with his fingers. 3 feet apart. Even pressure. It was pulled. A constable leaned in. Could be another trike, sir. Slack shook his head. No. The grooves are deeper on one side. Weight difference. Something dragged. Marple looked toward the gate. The latch was half closed. Not locked. Not open. She touched it lightly. Smooth metal. No rust flakes. It had been moved recently. She turned back. Inspector, where does this path lead? Out to the service lane, Slack replied. Ends at the dairy road. Then the canal. Marple nodded once. Then he didn't carry the child. He rolled something. Slack called out, Constable, fetch Hart's tricycle here. I want it next to the marks. The man hurried off. Sir Henry approached slowly. What have you found? Slack pointed. Tire evidence. Something else moved with that cart. Heavy enough to leave drag. Sir Henry's face hardened. My God, you think? Marple interrupted gently. Let's not think yet, Sir Henry. Let's observe. Hart's tricycle was wheeled over. Slack aligned the rear tires with the tracks. Perfect match on one side. But the other set ran parallel half an inch farther. He crouched lower. Chain mark here. See that? Metal link impression. Marple bent beside him. Yes, a connecting chain, or clasp. Hart spoke from behind them. You're wasting time. Those could be from anyone. Slack didn't look up. Anyone pulling a child's weight, you mean? Hart folded his arms. I sell ice cream, not babies. Marple's voice was calm. Yet your cart is strong enough to tow one. Slack stood. Bring me the measuring tape. He marked the distance from tire to tire. 31 inches, same as the width of a standard pram base. Marple looked toward the gravel path again. The second line curved slightly toward the hedge. Not random, controlled. It stopped near a flat patch of grass. She knelt, pressed her hand into the soil. Cold, flattened, smooth. She looked up slowly. Something rested here, Inspector. For minutes, not seconds. Slack frowned. Meaning? Marple straightened. Meaning it was hidden here briefly, before being moved again. Sir Henry's breath caught. Hidden? Yes, she said, and likely covered. Slack followed the track beyond the gate. The second set of lines continued toward the service lane. He turned back, dragged straight out. He didn't even lift it. Hart said nothing now. His smile was gone. Marple brushed dust from her gloves. Her tone stayed even. A pram base, Inspector. She paused. Or something worse. They stood near the vicarage wall. Evening light slipped low. The air felt heavier now. Inspector Slack closed his notebook. The name in the note. Barlow. You said he worked under you, Sir Henry? Sir Henry nodded slowly. His eyes stayed on the ground. He was one of ours. Good instincts. Bad temper. Dismissed? Slack asked. Yes. For falsifying evidence. He forged a witness statement to protect himself. I caught it. And reported him, Marple added quietly. Sir Henry nodded again. It was my duty. Slack leaned against the fence. What happened to him after that? He vanished. Left his post. A week later, the yard received a letter. What kind of letter? Sir Henry's tone dropped. A threat. He said I'd ruined him. Said one day I'd lose something I loved, and no one would believe it was his doing. Marple spoke softly. Did anyone else know? Only my superiors. It was filed away. I thought the matter dead. Slack frowned. But this note? Yes, Sir Henry said. Same typewriter style. Same phrasing. Same clipped tone. Marple folded her hands. And the file? In my study, he replied. Everything we had on him. Statements, complaints, handwriting samples. He was meticulous. Always left a trace. Slack turned to Marple. So the boy's kidnapping is revenge for his dismissal. Revenge, she said, or message. Slack looked puzzled. Message? Marple met his gaze. To remind Sir Henry that power isn't forgotten or forgiven. Sir Henry's hand trembled slightly. I never imagined he'd still be alive. Marple's tone stayed flat. Revenge doesn't age, Sir Henry. It just waits for an audience. Slack paced a few steps. He could have targeted you directly. Why the boy? To hurt me without touching me, Sir Henry said quietly. Barlow was clever that way. He knew what wounds never close. Marple's eyes shifted toward the path. Does Barlow have family? None recorded, Sir Henry answered. But he had contacts, informants, men who owed him favors. Slack sighed. So one of them could be acting for him. Or with him, Marple said. She turned to Sir Henry again. When was the last time you saw him? 20 years ago, he murmured. In court, he shouted as they took him out. Said I'd regret it. Said the law would taste its own medicine. Marple's knitting bag rested against the bench. Her fingers tapped lightly on its edge. Inspector, that note wasn't printed. It was typed. Someone had access to a typewriter. Someone organized. Someone patient. Slack nodded. Could be our ice cream man. Could, she said, or someone above him. Sir Henry's voice broke the pause. He said I'd make me regret it. He stopped, looked toward the empty path. His tone dropped to a whisper. Perhaps he just did. Inspector Slack called the showman over. Professor Osborne, step here, please. The man approached nervously. His striped vest trembled with each breath. You tie these. Ropes yourself. Slack asked. Yes, Inspector. Always. Habit of 20 years. Slack pointed to the Punch and Judy booth. The curtain ropes hung loose, cut unevenly. Marple stepped closer. May I? She touched one of the knots, twisted, studied. Not your work, she said quietly. Osborne blinked. Beg pardon? This knot, she explained, is a reef knot. Not a stage tie. You use slip knots for speed. These hold under strain. Slack looked at the rope. Meaning? Meaning, Marple said. Someone familiar with sailing tied this. Someone who wanted strength, not show. Slack nodded slowly. Heart. Marple turned her head slightly. Perhaps. He mentioned the coast once, didn't he? Slack motioned to a constable. Bring the tricycle man here again. Felix Hart arrived, guarded, chin high. Now what? Slack held up the rope. You ever tie one of these? Hart smirked. I've tied many knots, Inspector. Doesn't make me guilty. It might, Slack said coldly. Marple looked at the burlap sacking near the booth. Where did that come from? She asked. Osborne answered quickly. Hart lent it, ma'am. Said it'd keep my props dry. Marple moved closer to the sack. She touched it, sniffed lightly, then looked up. Vanilla, she murmured. Hart's jaw tightened. Everything smells like ice cream today, he said. Not like this, Marple replied. This scent is older, stored, embedded. Slack grabbed the sack's edge. Small puncture marks lined the fold. He turned to the constable. Get the purchase list from the general store. Nails, pins, string, anything he bought this week. Hart crossed his arms. This is ridiculous. Slack smiled thinly. You'd be surprised what's ridiculous until it isn't. Minutes later, the constable returned with a slip of paper. Here, sir, Felix Hart. 6 iron pins, purchased yesterday. Slack read it aloud. 6 pins? Where are they? Hart shrugged. Used for repairs. Repairs? Slack repeated. He pointed at the tricycle. Not a mark on that frame. Marple's gaze fell on the rope ends again. 2 frayed, 4 clean. She turned slowly. 4 pins could secure a cover, she said softly. Or a lid. Hart laughed too quickly. You think I build coffins now? No, Marple said. Containers. Slack's face darkened. He crouched by the tricycle box again. Fresh scratches. Metal on wood. Chain oil mixed with faint sweetness. He stood, voice low. He used the pins to bolt something down. Temporary. Mobile. Marple looked toward the hedge. The faint tracks still gleamed in the light. The chain. The pram base. The cover. Slack's grip tightened on the paper. 6 pins bought, he said grimly. He looked straight at Hart. 2 we found in your cart. Hart said nothing. Eyes fixed on the ground. Marple's voice cut the silence. 6 pins bought. We found 2. Where are the rest? Nurse Briggs sat on the bench. Face pale, hands trembling. Her white uniform no longer spotless. Inspector Slack stood before her. Try again, nurse. Think carefully. The exact moment before the boy vanished. Her voice cracked. There was so much noise. The bell. The puppet show. Children everywhere. Focus, Slack said. What did you touch? Who brushed past? She swallowed hard. I don't know. I turned for his cardigan. When I came back, he was gone. Miss Marple stepped closer, her tone calm, measured. May I see your sleeve? Briggs blinked, confused. My sleeve? Yes, dear. The right one. The nurse lifted her arm. A faint smear marked the fabric. Black, shiny. Slack frowned. What's that? I don't know, Briggs whispered. Grease, perhaps. I leaned near the tent pole. Marple shook her head. Not tent grease. Too thick. Smells. Of metal polish. She leaned in. Machine oil, mixed with wax. Recognize it, Inspector? Slack nodded. Same as the tricycle hinges. Marple straightened. So, you didn't just lean on a pole, nurse. Someone brushed past you. Someone whose sleeve or hand carried this. Briggs' eyes widened. The ice cream man. Describe the moment, Marple said gently. He came behind me, I think, Briggs replied. I heard the bell so close it startled me. I turned halfway. He smiled, said, "Careful, miss. Hot crowd today." Then he moved on. Marple looked at Slack, close enough to touch her sleeve. "Close enough to reach the child," Slack added grimly. Sir Henry paced nearby, restless. So he distracted her, deliberate. Marple nodded. A single second, enough to draw attention away. Slack looked toward the tricycle again. The bell cord runs along the handlebar, greased daily. If he brushed against her, he left that mark. Marple picked up the cardigan folded on the bench. The fabric was soft, clean, but one cuff showed faint dust. She rubbed it between her fingers. "Grease again," she murmured. Slack stepped forward. He brushed the nurse, then the boy. "Yes," Marple said quietly, and the boy's scarf carried the same scent. Briggs buried her face in her hands. "I should have seen it. I should have known." Marple touched her arm lightly. No one saw it. That was the point. Slack turned back to the inspector's men. "Check the path again. Look for more of that residue. He may have touched the gate latch, too." Marple stood still, thinking. Her voice low, certain. He used the crowd as cover. Noise for distraction. Grease for contact. Precision, Inspector. That's not improvisation. That's rehearsal. Slack looked at her, meaning he planned every second. Marple's reply was almost a whisper. "Yes." From the first ring of that bell, she looked toward the hedge where the tricycle had passed. Her knitting bag hung from her wrist. Her tone turned sharp. He brushed past her within inches of the boy. Inspector Slack crouched beside the tricycle. His gloves were already dark with grease. "Something's off," he muttered. "Too heavy for an ice cream box." Miss Marple stood behind him. Calm, focused. Her eyes traced every hinge, every screw. Slack tapped the side panel. Hollow sound. He frowned. "See? Bottom doesn't match the walls." Marple nodded. "Try the corner joints, Inspector." He wedged a knife under one edge. The panel shifted slightly. A faint metallic click followed. Heart, standing under guard, stiffened. "Careful," he said quickly. "Old frame, weak bolts." Slack glanced up. "You'd know. You built it." Heart said nothing. Marple leaned closer. "Do you hear that?" Slack paused. A low creak. Wood on metal. The sound of a false latch. "Lift it," she said. He pried it open. A thin sheet of plywood came loose. Underneath dark space, cold air rose out. Slack reached in with his gloved hand, pulled out a handful of shredded paper, then a fragment of cloth. Blue. Soft. Sir Henry froze. "That's Tim's." Marple took the piece gently, held it under light. Wool fiber, torn at the hem. She nodded once. "The boy was inside," she said quietly. Slack's jaw tightened. He used the cart as a crate, moved him through the crowd. He ran his hand along the bottom edge. Small air holes drilled near the wheel shaft. "Ventilation," he muttered. "Good enough to keep someone breathing." Marple's tone stayed even. "Designed in advance. Not panic. Planning." Hart laughed suddenly. "You're imagining things. It's insulation. I haul ice blocks." Slack stood. "Then where are they?" Hart's eyes flicked to the empty cooler. "Sold out." "Funny," Slack said. "No drips. No melt. Just dust." Marple looked at the discarded paper inside the box. Plain wrapping torn in strips. Smelled faintly of sugar and polish. "Padding," she said. "Used to muffle sound." Sir Henry's voice cracked. "So he hid the boy here?" "Yes," Marple said softly. "For minutes, maybe longer, then transferred him through the gate." Slack knelt again. His flashlight caught another detail, a broken pinhead lodged in the wood grain. "Same size as the ones from the shop," he said. "4 missing, 1 broken." Marple folded her hands. 6 pins bought, 2 found, 1 broken, 3 unaccounted. Slack turned to the constable. "Get every roadblock between here and the dairy lane. Now." The constable ran. Hart spoke again, quieter. You're chasing ghosts. The boy's not here. Marple didn't look at him. Ghosts don't leave fabric, Mr. Hart. People do. Slack straightened. Check every crate, every cooler, every delivery label. He shut the false bottom. The latch clicked into place. Marple's voice carried over the silence. Flat, certain. The child was in the cold. Inspector Slack stepped out of the study, a slip of paper in his hand. Got it, he said. Telephone log from the vicarage line. Miss Marple looked up from her chair. Times? Slack nodded. 3 calls made between 2 and 3 o'clock, all outgoing. 1 number repeated twice. Sir Henry's voice was low. Not mine. I didn't use the phone. Slack scanned the paper. Number belongs to Wensley Dairy. Local supplier. Marple's eyes narrowed slightly. Interesting. And what business had the vicarage with milk at Fete hour? Dr. Haydock looked puzzled. They deliver each morning, not afternoon. Exactly, Marple said. So why call them before the child vanished? Slack pocketed the note. Could have been a servant. There are no servants here today, Marple replied. The Fete staff used the hall telephone, and the calls came from this room. Slack exhaled, meaning the caller stood right here. He looked around. Desk. Window. Perfect view of the lawn below. Marple rose slowly. 3 calls. 2 to confirm. 1 to signal. She looked at Sir Henry. The timing matches the abduction. He frowned. You think the kidnapper used the line? Yes, to coordinate transport. Slack turned to the constable. Get me the dairy manager, now. Minutes later, the call came through. This is Slack, County Police. Who drove Route 27 today? A voice crackled over the line. Route 27? That'd be Charlie Kent. Left at 2:30. Destination? Market Basing first, then up to the Canal Road. Slack's eyes met Marple's. She gave a slow nod. Same route as the tracks. Slack gripped the receiver. Did Kent make any stops he shouldn't have? A pause. Well, he picked up an extra crate from the back of Wensley Yard. Said it was overflow. Told the clerk you authorized it. Who told him that? Didn't say. Just showed a note. Typed, Marple whispered. The same typewriter. Slack tightened his jaw. Described the crate. Wooden, dairy logo, said perishables, smelled like vanilla. He slammed the receiver down. Vanilla again, he said. Everything leads back to that scent. Sir Henry's face went grey. So the boy's in that crate. Marple corrected him softly. Was in it, now likely moved. Slack pointed toward the constables. Alert every checkpoint between here and the canal bridge. Stop Route 27. They ran for the cars. Marple stayed by the window, her voice quiet. 3 phone calls. 1 pattern. Vanilla scent. Typewritten note. Everything aligns. Slack nodded. It's all the same hand. Whoever planned this knew every step. Marple's tone dropped. Lower. Yes, a mind that treats people as cargo. She looked toward the courtyard outside. Workers clearing fat tables moved crates toward the kitchen yard. A faint breeze carried the scent of sweetness. Slack turned sharply. What is it? Marple's eyes didn't move from the window. Her voice turned cold. Vanilla again from the kitchen yard. Inspector Slack grabbed his coat. Car ready. Out front, sir, the constable shouted back. Miss Marple followed, steady as ever. Her bag clutched tight. No panic, just purpose. Sir Henry stood by the doorway. Take me with you. Slack hesitated. You'd only slow us down. I won't, Sir Henry said firmly. His voice carried weight. This is my grandson. Marple nodded once. He comes. Slack didn't argue further. They moved fast. Tires spat gravel as the car tore from the vicarage drive. The sky dimmed to pale grey. Evening closing in. Slack checked his watch. 2 hours since the abduction. Marple's reply was quiet. The boy won't be kept long. He's leverage, not a hostage. Sir Henry gripped his knees. Barlow. Or someone worse. Someone working his plan, Marple said. They hit the main road. Wind roared through the open window. A constable's voice came over the wireless set. Message from Checkpoint 2. Lorry sighted. Dairy logo heading north. Slack grabbed the receiver. Block the junction near the canal road. Don't engage. Wait for us. Marple's eyes stayed on the passing hedgerows. The canal bends toward Market Basing, doesn't it? Yes, Slack said. Lorries load there for night shipments. Perfect place to vanish a crate, Marple murmured. Sir Henry looked out the window. Dear God, he planned this right under my nose. Slack accelerated. The engine groaned under the strain. Headlights cut through the mist. They passed the mile marker. 4 more to Market Basing, Slack said. Marple's tone sharpened. Then hurry. Darkness hides truth. The radio crackled again. Checkpoint 3 to base. Vehicle stopped near Windmere Bridge, sir. Slack's heart kicked. Describe it. White lorry. Wensley Dairy. Driver alone. Slack pressed the pedal harder. Hold him there. The car veered around the bend, horn blaring, gravel sprayed from the tires. Sir Henry braced himself. Alive, he whispered. Please, let him be alive. Marple's voice stayed calm. Hope is a good compass, Sir Henry. But logic drives the road. The bridge appeared ahead, stone, narrow, shadowed. A white lorry stood parked at the far side. Steam hissed from its bonnet. A man leaned on the rail, cigarette burning bright in the dusk. Slack slowed the car. Constables in position? 2 by the bridge, came the reply. He stepped out quietly, hand on his revolver. Charlie Kent? The driver turned. Who's asking? Slack showed his badge. Where's the extra crate? Kent frowned. Delivered it like the note said. To where? He hesitated. Warehouse by Market Basing. Canal loading dock. Marple stepped closer. And who gave you that note? Kent pointed down the road. Man with an ice cream cart. Said he worked for the dairy. Slack's face hardened. He signaled the men back into the car. Now we finish this. Marple adjusted her hat, her voice low. The lorry turned toward Market Basing. The car sped through the last mile. Sir Henry leaned forward, tense. Slack kept one hand on the wheel, one on the radio. Units converging on the canal yard, the voice crackled. Driver detained. Crate confirmed. Slack exhaled. Finally, Marple didn't look relieved. Her eyes stayed on the window. The crate may hold nothing now, she said quietly. He's ahead of us. Always one step ahead. Slack frowned. You think he passed the boy off again? Marple nodded. Yes, to someone who knew the route. Someone who helped plan it. Sir Henry turned sharply. Not Hart? No, she said. He's clever, but not precise. The work we've seen precision beyond him. Slack glanced sideways. Explain. Marple clasped her hands. Let's list what we know, Inspector. Slowly. Slack kept his eyes on the road. I'm listening. Marple's tone stayed even. Vanilla. The scent appears on the scarf, the sacking, and the tricycle. It covers the smell of metal polish. Slack nodded. Right. Sugar cones, she continued. Perfect hiding for small objects. Tokens, perhaps, or notes. The ledger proved the flavor orders were false entries. Slack muttered. 42 cones. 42 signals. Marple continued. The sacking. Lent by Hart, but not his fabric. Older weave. The type used in coastal deliveries. Marked WS, faintly on the edge. Slack frowned. Warehouse supply? Or Wensley storage? She corrected. Owned, 10 years ago, by a man named Lucas Drew. Sir Henry looked up. Drew? Yes, Marple said softly. Former quartermaster in Barlow's unit. Dismissed with him. Slack cursed under his breath. So Barlow's old partner. Exactly. He used the same habits, Marple said. The sailor's knot in the rope, the chain impression near the gate, and of course the bell. Sir Henry frowned. The bell? Marple nodded. 2 rings. Pause. 1 ring. A signal pattern. Standard maritime code for ready to move. Slack gripped the wheel tighter. Used at docks. Indeed, she said. And where are we headed, Inspector? He glanced ahead. The canal docks. Marple's voice dropped to a whisper. He's moving by instinct, the same rhythm he knew at sea. He hides in plain sight. Sir Henry's voice broke. Then my grandson. Alive, Marple said quickly. He values the exchange more than the act. The boy is leverage. Nothing more. Slack's jaw set. Then we corner Drew at the warehouse. Yes, she said. But remember, he won't fight. He'll vanish. He's a planner, not a brute. The lights of market basing flickered ahead. Warehouse silhouettes loomed near the canal. Marple leaned forward slightly, her eyes calm, voice certain. It fits too perfectly, Inspector. The tricycle, the grease, the notes, the crate, the route. One mind behind them all. Slack nodded. And that mind belongs to? Marple's gaze fixed on the docks ahead. Her words came slowly. Only one man could tie a sailor's knot and ring bells twice. The car screeched to a stop outside the canal yard. Searchlights cut through the mist. Constables shouted orders across the dock. Inspector Slack stepped out first. Seal the exits. No one in or out. Engines idled nearby. Lorries lined the edge of the canal, their sides marked Wensley Dairy. Miss Marple followed, calm as ever. Her voice stayed even. He'll be close, Inspector. He'll want to see it finished. Slack nodded to his men. Check every crate. They began prying open boxes, empty bottles, milk tins, broken wood. Sir Henry moved slower behind them. Each sound made him flinch. He's here somewhere, he said. He has to be. Marple's eyes scanned the ground. A faint smear led from the truck toward the far shed. Dark grease mixed with pale dust. Inspector, she said softly. Follow that line. They moved together, torches low. The shed door hung ajar. Inside silence. Slack pushed the door wide. A single crate sat in the center, large, marked dairy supplies. Fresh nails. New rope. Slack raised his hand. Careful. He stepped forward, pried one edge loose. Cold air drifted out. A sound followed. Soft, weak, a cough. Sir Henry froze. Tim, Slack, ripped the lid free. Inside, wrapped in blankets, the boy stirred. Eyes fluttered open. A small whisper came out. Grandpa. Sir Henry fell to his knees. He lifted the child carefully, voice shaking. You're safe, my boy. You're safe. Slack looked at Marple. Her expression didn't change. He wasn't far, she said quietly. Just hidden well. A shout came from outside. Found him. By the canal wall. 2 constables dragged Felix Hart toward them. His jacket torn, hands bound. Slack faced him. You made a mistake, Hart. The trail never ended. Hart laughed once. Didn't matter. I did what he wanted. Who? Slack snapped. Hart's eyes turned cold. Barlow. Or what's left of him. He found me years ago. Said I'd get my chance when Clithering felt safe again. Marple stepped closer. He told you to take the boy. Hart nodded. Not harm. Just frighten. Prove the man's sins return. Slack shoved him back. And the crate? Hart smiled faintly. His idea. Said justice should travel on wheels. Sir Henry held the boy tighter. You fool. Barlow's dead. You carried out revenge for a ghost. Hart's voice dropped low. Ghosts pay better than truth, sir. Slack signaled the men. Get him out of here. They pulled Hart toward the waiting car. Marple turned to Sir Henry. Her voice gentled. He planned every step, Sir Henry. Every scent, every knot, every sound. You weren't his target. Your conscience was. Sir Henry looked down at his grandson. Then he failed. Marple didn't answer. Her eyes lingered on the tricycle now resting by the wall. Grease. Wax. Rope. Her tone, quiet but final. Justice came in vanilla and steel. Evening settled over Street Mary Mead. The lamps burned low. The village quieted. Miss Marple sat by the fire. Her knitting needles clicked softly. Beside her, the teapot steamed. Sir Henry Clithering sat opposite. A cup, untouched in his hands. The boy asleep upstairs, watched by Nurse Briggs. Slack stood near the mantel. Report book open. His tone quiet. It's over, Miss Marple. She didn't look up. Over? Her voice calm. No, Inspector. Only paused. Evil doesn't end. It rests. Slack sighed. Barlow's man confessed. Said he got letters for years, promises, instructions. Yes, Marple said, written in that same clipped rhythm. Same anger. Sir Henry stared into the flames. I ruined a man, Miss Marple. I did what was right, but it ruined him. Marple placed her knitting aside. You exposed corruption, Sir Henry. That is justice, not cruelty. He shook his head. You don't understand. He had a family once. I remember his face when they dismissed him. No trial, no mercy. Just my word. Slack closed the report. He forged evidence. You had no choice. Sir Henry looked up slowly. There's always a choice, Inspector. I chose the law. He chose revenge. And in between an innocent child. Silence stretched for a moment. Only the kettle hissed. Marple poured tea into each cup. Steam rose, soft and white. The law and conscience often share the same table, she said, but one eats slower. Slack half smiled. You talk like the case is unfinished. Marple sipped her tea. Because guilt lingers longer than truth. Sir Henry's hands trembled. I wanted him punished, but I never wished him broken. Marple looked at him steadily. Perhaps that is punishment enough. Knowing your justice became someone else's pain. He nodded faintly. You think I'll carry that forever? Yes, she said simply. Because the good always do. The fire cracked softly. Outside, a clock chimed 9. Slack glanced toward the window. Village quiet again, he said. Marple nodded. It always is after noise. Sir Henry rose. He stood by the fire, eyes distant. What do I tell? The boy when he's older. The truth, Marple said, that evil comes in many uniforms, and sometimes it borrows a good man's badge. Slack picked up his hat. I'll have the paperwork ready by morning. Marple smiled faintly. Don't make it too tidy, Inspector. The world rarely is. He nodded once and left. The door closed softly behind him. Sir Henry turned to her. You think Barlow's name will die now? No, she said. It will cool, not fade. She lifted her teacup, watched the steam curl upward. Her voice dropped to a whisper. Some men freeze their hearts to keep their secrets cold. The fire popped once, then quiet. Only the steady click of needles began again, and peace, slow but certain, filled the room. Thank you for joining us, dear listener, for another quiet corner of mysteries. I'm your host, Edward, and tonight's tale reminded us that guilt doesn't vanish. It only hides behind respectability. What about you? Which clue gave it away first? Was it the vanilla scent? The missing pins? Or that quiet little knot that told the truth when no one else did? Tell me in the comments below. I always read your theories. And if you'd like more evenings like this, where justice whispers instead of shouts, don't forget to follow and share this story. Until next time, keep your tea warm, your conscience clear, and your eyes sharp for the smallest of clues. Because truth, my friend, always finds its way, and may it cool slower than tea.